Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, family, and friends. My name is Linda Rigby. Some people know me as Bella. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming this evening. We're in for a treat. For those who follow me, you know how we do it. It's your girl, Bella. So without further ado, I have a treat for you. I would like to introduce you to Maxine Williams Wright. Take it away, Max.
I call this a man with sensitivity. I've watched you from the time you were submerged, held you close when you didn't have the nerves. For years we were a team, just you and I against all means. You released my hand to conquer other demands not in our plans. I captured the snares of the world as they were hurled. I was the best man when you said I do, even when I told you not to. I believe the vision in your eyes, the dash in your stride as you strategize, ride or die with you when the vision didn't materialize. You need a man with sensitivity. That man is me. Can't you see? Trust and believe in me. I didn't have the charm to keep you in my arms, nor the admiration to stimulate your sensation. Placed on a shelf to collect dust as you rushed into another affiliation that lacked substance for a loving relation. I stayed in my place, kept an eye on you, even when you didn't want me to. I told my father I couldn't give up on you, because in your heart I knew you loved me too. You had faith in me to diffuse when you were misused, abused, and left confused. You need a man with sensitivity. That man is me, can't you see? Trust and believe in me. And one morning, I knocked on the door. I turned to walk away like I had many times before. I heard you yell my name. I hastened to your side, glorified with pride, jubilant to reside inside your heart. You stepped into the rim of my hem by the way of my stem. You embraced me. I fell to my knees as you touched me. A layer of your skin fell dead as a reptilian would shed. You urged to emerge into an electric surge. We confessed our unreserved love with purified blood. My love has always been more than physical. It is spiritual. I've loved you more than you could ever imagine, with infinite passion. You need a man with sensitivity. That man is me. You see, I left my home for you. I was born to love you. I traveled the roads in search of you. I was baptized for you. I fed 5,000 for you. I raised the dead and healed the sick for you. I prayed 40 days and 40 nights for you. I was betrayed and denied for you. I sacrificed myself for you. I wore a crown of thorns for you. I was crucified for you. I rose the third day for you, and I ascended back to my Father for you. I sent my Holy Spirit to be with you. I am the Word, and I will never, never leave you. I am the man with sensitivity. That man is me.
Wow. Thank you, Maxine Williams Wright. What can I say? For those who want to follow Max, if you look at the scrolling screen, that is Maxine Williams Wright. She's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Max Will Pro. Thank you, Max. Max is an author, prolifically writer, and director. Thank you so much for lending your talent with us tonight. Thank you. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker tonight that we're going to have a conversation with. So let's go, Facebook and YouTube fans. President, Atlanta City Council, Felicia Moore. Honesty, integrity, transparency, These are the characteristics most associated with Felicia A. Moore, newly elected president of the Atlanta City Council. Felicia fights on behalf of the Atlanta citizens, policies, and ethics. Known for her fierce stance on transparency, Felicia is not afraid to speak her mind, even if she draws the ire of those that's in power. She's a servant leader who is comfortable in the presence of great political figures and celebrities, as she is with everyday residents who are always eager to stop and greet her while she's out in the community. That tenacity spirit has garnered her praise and respected throughout the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia. Felicia began her community service as president of her Riverside Neighborhood Association. She served as the chair of the neighborhood planning committee there and so many other opportunities during that time. She has spent nearly 3 decades as a public servant, serving communities in need. She was instrumental in the opening of the brand new public supermarket in Northwest Atlanta, where there hadn't been a grocery store there in decades, as well as the installation of the state-of-the-art Agape Community Center, offering programs in technology, recreation, and health and wellness for seniors, children, and families there. She has won numerous awards with honors, and most recently being one of the Atlanta Top 100 Women of Excellence and special recognition from the Golden Dome chapter of the American Business Women Association, better known as ABWA. Felicia is an active member of the National League of the Cities, NLC, and a former board member of that organization. She's the past president and current board member of the National Black Caucus of Elected Officials. Felicia is also a member of the Georgia Municipal Association of Legislation Policy Council and the past president of the Central Region of District 3. Ms. Moore is a cum laude graduate of Central State University in Ohio and holds a Master of Science degree from Central Michigan University with a concentration in public administration. She's an honor society member and a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Skiwi. And Miss Felicia Moore is a licensed real estate broker and a proud resident of the historic Collier Heights community in Atlanta, Georgia. You all know Bela Biz. I can go on and on and on and on, but I will not, because I want to take this special time to introduce to some. Others, I'm going to just say this is a great introduction, and I'm truly humble and honored. I have served under Felicia. I'm going to get my famous plug in, and it has been an honor working under you. Without further ado, audience, I'd like to introduce you to you, the Honorable President Felicia Moore. Hey, Felicia.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I don't know why. Am I echoing?
You're fine.
Okay, great. That's what it sounds. Okay.
All righty. So without further ado, Felicia, I have did a little bit of Facebooking and a little bit of YouTubing just to give the audience a twist. What we want to do is talk about tonight just really the power of the vote. Your voice, your count.
And right now, everybody has an opportunity to exercise that power. We know that we have historic runoffs going here in the state of Georgia. This has never happened before. It hasn't happened, I don't think, to any other state where the fate of this country is based on how one state votes. And right now, that state is the state of Georgia. We have 2 Senate seats that can change the balance of power. Right now, everyone knows that many things are being held up in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, he has a lot of power. And if we can change who is in the leadership in the Senate, which the Senate is a very interesting body in that the person who is the leader can decide what they can vote on and what they can't vote on, what comes on the floor and what doesn't. And so we have an opportunity, if we are successful in electing 2 Democrats to that seat, it will make the Senate 50-50. Now, that doesn't mean that all the time the Republicans are all going to go one way or the Democrats are all going to go one way. But if it does, then we also have the Vice President, Soror, who I am so proud of, Kamala Harris, who is the Vice President of the United States, who runs the Senate, who will be able to break that tie. We are at a part in our country where we want things to move forward. Right now, as we speak, they're dealing with the issue of whether people are going to get $600 in relief for COVID or $2,000 at this point, whether people are going to get the extension of their unemployment benefits. There are a lot of hurting people out there, and some of them are probably watching right now. COVID has increased our unemployment rates. People do not have jobs. We have people who are on the verge of eviction and have been for months, but for policies that were enacted that allow people to stay in their homes. And I am so happy to hear over 70,000, 75,000 new voters have registered to vote between our last general and this runoff election. It is so pivotal. I'm hoping, Bella, that people are beginning to realize how important their vote is to selecting the people who make policies that affect our lives.
That's good. Felicia, I'm going to take a minute right now and I'm going to do a show and tell. I want to make a question and a comment. This is the 17th piece of slick, for those who can see it, that's been mailed to me. I live in Fulton County, Felicia, and I want you to speak a little bit about, some people have said, oh, it's a lot of money that's been sent on this campaign. Oh, I'm getting tired of getting emails, slicks, text messaging. I find it to be very refreshing. Can you speak to just the fact that it's been a lot of campaign going on this last election?
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, I had received, up until I voted, now that I actually early voted already, and I encourage everybody before I move on to early vote. And it ends on Friday, because you don't want to wait till election day, because there's some funny stuff sometimes that happens with the voter rolls. You don't want to wait in long, long lines only to get there and they say, well, you're not registered, or there's some issue and you only get a provisional ballot, which will require you to come back to fix it. You don't want to get into that. Go ahead and early vote and get your vote in early. But before I voted, I was getting at minimum 4 texts a day on my cell phone. I'm getting calls constantly on my landline. I'm one of those that still have a landline. I'm receiving postcards in the mail. I'm receiving flyers. And of course, people are knocking on my door. I've had people, I know at least 3 occasions where people have come and knocked on my door. And, you know, I'm like, oh my goodness, another call. But after I thought about it, I said, you know what, bug me all you want to, because it is so crucial that we vote, that constant reminder, I hope, for that one person who hadn't done it yet will go on and do it. So if you want them to stop calling you, whatever, vote, because they can tell who voted and who didn't vote. And once you do that, then, you know, it will lessen the calls. But I'm just so proud that people are spending their time, they're volunteering, and the money is being spent to really actively engage the public and get out to vote. So I understand everybody is wanting it to be over, and it will be soon, because we will actually have election day. But I got the same thing that you have, and I think that we're going to continue to get that up until election day. And so, you know, if you've already voted, just hope that it helped someone else that hadn't gotten there yet.
That's great. Now, Felicia, I want to move on to something else. I posted about an hour beforehand the location for the Mercedes-Benz, right, in terms of early voting. I want you to speak a little bit about, because there is still some confusion. Everyone in these different counties, each county does not operate particularly the same, where DeKalb versus Fulton County. But I think people need to be informed. So tonight I want us to touch base and free some souls out there who's listening to us who have not voted yet. And by the way, Felicia, I voted on the 14th. I was one of those first risers on the 14th of December.
Wonderful.
But speak a little bit about just, early voting. There are different
Right. So
locations.
early voting is still going on and it will be going on until the 31st. So you can do that. And first of all, you got to know what county you're in because every county handles their own election. The state oversees it all, but every county in the state of Georgia, 149 of them, each county is responsible for their elections. I live in Fulton County, and so there are locations for early voting that the Fulton County Board of Elections has opened. State Farm Arena is one of those in Fulton County for Fulton County voters. And I understand that that's a beautiful facility and it's been working well and you can social distance and you can use that. But there are some other locations like I went to this time. I usually go to Adamsville Recreation Center on MLK. I went there. There were about 10 people in line. I didn't want to stand in line inside with a lot of people. I said, let me go to this library. So I went to Scotts Crossing, the regional library, no line. I was in and out in 10, 15 minutes. So there are plenty of locations, and there is an app that you can use that can tell you actually how long the line is. So there's many opportunities for you. So what you need to do first and foremost is know what county you're in. And the wonderful thing about the internet, just go to Google and say DeKalb County voting sites, Fulton County voting sites, whatever. If you have a ballot that you have received because you're absentee voting, do not put it in the mail. We want to make sure it gets there on time. There are Dropbox locations. Go to Google. Google your county, Fulton County, Clayton County, whatever your county is, Dropbox locations, and it will come up. Now make sure that you're getting it from your county so that you're sure that you're not, being spoofed to go somewhere that you're not supposed to. But I mean, it's very easy to find out where you can vote, and you need to do that and do it soon and early. And if you have a ballot at home, this is the other thing. Some of you ask for ballots, but then you don't fill them out. Fill them out and take it and drop it in a Dropbox.
That's great. I appreciate that. I also wanted to add for those people, because we're all about helping, right, Felicia? And just on behalf of the League of Women Voters, there's also another additional to what Felicia is saying. It's an app. It's called Vote, VOTE 411.org. Very helpful. As Felicia said, just go to Google. Once you Google vote411.org, it's an application that will pop up. You can simply put your name in there. And I do want to do a disclaimer. Some people may find no information in there. Some people may find wrong information. Information is just that information. So it is a guideline to help for you to see if, one, that you voted, two, if you registered, but more importantly, if stuff is just messed up. I mean, take me, for example. I moved from one county called Felicia to Fulton. Mm-hmm. So when I went to look at my Vote 411, being educated, I knew it would be wrong information. So I took the opportunity to change my polling information. Very simple, ladies and gentlemen, very simple.
And you can go to the Secretary of State's website on my voter page and check and make sure that you're on there. It even tracks to make sure that your vote was counted and that you voted. If you received an absentee ballot, what you can do is you can check there as well to make sure that it was accepted, that it returned back. Again, I tell people don't vote, don't mail it now, but actually take it to a Dropbox to make sure that it is taking place. And my staff has put in the chat box, and I think they'll share it on Facebook and YouTube, some other resources as well that people can use. There's no excuse. There's plenty of resources out there and plenty of people to help. And then when you go to the poll, if you find that you're having issues, there are organizations and voter protection and others. You got your cell phone, if you need to just click that, Google that and Voter Protection Georgia or Atlanta or whatever, and you'll be able to talk to someone to make a complaint. And a lot of times I think people forget the first place you should call is your county board of registration, because they are the ones that can quickly address whatever issues that you have. And then you may want to call a voter protection line or some other organization that can follow up. But if you call the your county's Board of Elections. So Fulton County Board of Elections, DeKalb County Board of Elections, Clayton County, Gwinnett, Cobb, whatever county you live in, then you can get someone who they should be on the ready. They usually have people there in a hotline, and they can get a supervisor or someone to address it right then and there.
That's great. I will be remiss, and I don't want to assume that people know a lot that you do, Felicia, because I know I don't even know. But I'm going to take this platform and opportunity because I really care a lot about you. I know how committed you are. And it really doesn't matter what county you live in. As we're also talking about voting night, I would like you just to expound a little bit on your role. I know the importance of it. Just share. And then what does it mean to be the president of the city of Atlanta in terms of the council?
Well, I'll have to start that with a little civics class, because I think it's always important for elected officials to explain to you what their role is, because there are so many different elected offices, and many times citizens don't know who to go to for what. So the small civic lessons, and you may remember this from school, there are 3 branches of government. You have the judicial, you have the executive, and you have the legislative. In the city of Atlanta, our judicial branch is our municipal court. And our municipal court handles our traffic fines, city code violations, and other offenses. So everybody knows what a court is. That is our judicial branch. Then you have the executive branch. The executive branch of our city is headed by our mayor. She is the chief executive officer of the city. She's responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city. And nearly all of the, except for the council, the legislative branch and the judicial branch, all the other employees of the city work at the direction of the mayor through the commissioners of different departments: police, fire, watershed management, public works, transportation, all of the different departments, law department, all the departments that work under the city are under the direction of the mayor with the commissioners. And so a lot of times people don't realize who is at the head of the operations of the city. And then there is the legislative branch. And that is what I am the head of as president of the Atlanta City Council. Before I get to what I do, the council is similar to the board of directors of a corporation. The city is a municipal corporation. They're the ones who set the policy. They approve or disapprove of budgets. They make laws and approve and disapprove of those. And so they have an oversight, fiduciary responsibility, and a policy-making responsibility. There are 15 members of the city council. 12 of them represent districts. I was a district council member before I became president. I represented District 9 in Northwest Atlanta for 20 years. So 12 of us represent a specific geographic area. 3 members represent the entire city. They have to live in certain districts to run for that particular post, but they are voted on by all citizens of the city. And what I tell people is you vote for 6 elected officials that represent you. A lot of times they just call their district council person because that's the closest to them. But you have the mayor, you have the council president, myself, that is a citywide representative. You have 3 citywide at-large members, and you have your district council member. So you have 6 elected officials in the city of Atlanta that should address your concerns because you vote for all of them. So now the past president, what does the president do? The president is the head of the legislative branch. The duties that I'm known for is running the council meetings. And I preside over all of the council meetings. I also appoint the chairs of committees and the members of all of the committees. I vote only at the council meeting in the case of a tie. And I also serve on different boards and commissions, at the will of the council, and others just as by virtue of the fact that I am the council president. And I also am sort of in a gray area. I can have a foot in either the legislative or the executive branch. So if the mayor leaves the country, then I would, if necessary, if there was an emergency while she was gone, then I would serve as the mayor for that temporary time. Or if something happened to the mayor resigned, I would immediately become the mayor of the city. And so I kind of serve both sides. I serve the whole city of Atlanta. And what I've also used my office for, and I will extend this to your listeners, as a resource. Sometimes people are just not sure how to navigate City Hall. 311 is our non-emergency number. They will help you if you hit a pothole or your Herbie Kirby's missing, that kind of thing. You can call 311 for those services. But if you have a little bit more nuance or not sure about who to contact or where you should go, I always use my office as a resource. And I can be reached at fmoore@atlantanga.gov. I'm sure we'll put that in the chat, and my phone number. And we pride ourselves in my office with my staff on being responsive. We may not be able to solve your issue, but we will certainly try to get you in the right direction. And if we just can't solve it or don't know where to go, we'll tell you that too, but we always try to respond. So that's what the president does.
That's a lot. And I'm being modest, audience. I have worked under this woman and I don't see how she does it, but she's equipped for it. Felicia, I want to talk, because this is all related with the voting. I want to talk about and address the audience in terms of, I have seen many council meetings and I have seen the public. I have seen the citizens come in and listen. And I'm still quite not sure if people know they can do that. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because this is all related around getting your vote out and getting your voice out.
Well, and I will say this, that because of COVID, by mid-March, we immediately spent on a dime, and I'm very proud that I initiated sort of a practice before it actually happened, and the council has been flexible in doing it, and the staff that supports the city council and our clerk's office were just wonderful, that we are doing our meetings remotely and have been since March. And so you can view our meetings. I just want to put that plug in. You can view it if you have Comcast on channel 26. You can view it on the city's website live or a repeat. You can view it on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I think we also have a page, the Atlanta City Council page on YouTube. Also, we have made sure that we keep in touch with our public and we allow public comment. Actually, more people have had an opportunity to comment to the public to comment to us than in meetings past, because you typically would have to come down physically to City Hall during the time of a meeting, whether it's a committee meeting or the council meeting, and give your comment. What we allow is for people to call the day before the meeting, between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m., and they're able to leave up to 2 or 3 minute comment. And we play those public comments during our meeting time so that all council members are there and present and can hear it, as well as all of them have an opportunity to be heard by other members of the public. And so, we're engaging the public still in a remote virtual environment.
That's great. And I'm going to just take the opportunity having you there because your time is so busy. I hear a lot of chatter and I hear a lot of talk, and people they don't know what they don't know, Felicia. But more importantly, once they're armored up, it should be life-changing, because I know there's a lot of opportunities for the public to come in. Transparency, honesty, and integrity. I know that's what you live by, your creed. So I wanted to make sure I put that out there while I have you on this platform to speak.
Thank you. Thank you.
Felicia, there's a lot of people still in this election. I think I just got some stats from the league. A little bit over 2 million people have early voted. And I know there's maybe over 17. I'm just counting, just over a wider population of people yet to vote. Back to powering the vote and the importance of it from your role. what can you do tonight in terms of helping lending the clarion call to the listening audience, which will be played back over and over, hopefully, up until January 5th?
Well, I know and I think that everybody can take a part. We talked about how we were getting all of the texts and the mail or whatever. Just, when you're talking to your friend, just ask them, have you gotten out to vote yet? I'm going to tell the story. One of my supporters, she's been a longtime supporter. She's really big advocate on people getting out to vote. And we were standing in my driveway talking, and she told me, she said, I was just at the store, and I was in the parking lot, and I ran into a gentleman that worked for Comcast, and I just walked up to him and asked him, have you gotten out and voted? And she said, the guy said, no, I didn't get out to vote. I don't think that I'm going to be able to, I work all the time. I don't even know where to go. I don't know how to get out to vote. So she took her phone. She said, I took my phone. I said, what county do you live in? He said, Clayton. She said she Googled Clayton County early voting locations. It pulled up. She started reading them off to him. And he said, oh, okay. And he said, you know what? I'm getting off early today. And that was, I think it was like the day, right around Christmas time. He said, I think I'm going to go vote because, he knew the time. He knew which location was near. And just that interaction in just that few minutes, that was another vote. And so I think that each and every one of us can just ask people, have you voted? Just remind your friends when you're talking to them, have you voted? Post things on your social media. We're on there all day, every day. It doesn't hurt to post something. Did you vote? Make sure people respond to you. I think the more, even though it's getting on people's nerves, it is the best nerve to get on. And so in my role as council president, we are always pushing out information for Atlanta. Atlanta is in Fulton County and DeKalb County, and we continue to push out that information as much as possible.
I appreciate that. As we're talking tonight, it's some nuggets. Usually the platform that I serve, I ask people to get out their pens, notepads, iPhones, whatever they have, and just jot some information down. I always say, Felicia, information is cool. It's very important, but to me, it's not powerful until you actually utilize it, right?
And we've got to get it out. And I think it's the way that we receive it. And that's why I made the point about, when you're just having those conversations casually with your coworkers or your friends, you're on these Zoom calls, sometimes before the Zoom call, everybody's just kind of chatting it up, waiting for the meeting to start. What does it hurt just to ask, hey, everybody, have you gotten out to vote yet? And if people haven't, said, well, you can Google what county are you living in. I think that we all can take an active role. And so it doesn't take a pen and paper to write that down. It's just being very conscious of it and really encouraging people in these last few days to get to the early voting location by Friday, because we want people to early vote so we can make sure that there's no problems on election day.
That's great. Felicia, I do a lot of posting, so I felt good and proud and humble when you talked about that, because I think everybody can do something a little bit right where they are, and I try to post on a daily basis to stay focused. So let me ask you this question. We know it's coming up on January 5th, the election. We know the importance. I feel that some of us know the importance because all eyes are on Georgia, right? No matter which way the race goes, can you speak a little bit about the importance of the role, right? That actual role. Because I do want to do a shameless plug and just say hats off to US Senator Kwanzaa Hall that we both know. I think he has been doing a terrific job just in giving us information via the Facebook. So you can speak a little bit about that, because it's very important, because a lot of us are really learning on the fly, Felicia, to be quite transparent about things work and how government works.
Well, I mean, the U.S. legislature, from the House to the Senate, they both have their roles, and nothing gets passed in law in the U.S. government or federal spending or any of that without both of those houses being in agreement, both the Senate as well as the representatives. And so it's extremely important that you find and make sure that you vote for those people. It is so crucial. And let me just tell you how crucial it is to cities. Those people are the ones who decide who gets money and who doesn't. For instance, the city of Atlanta received 88 million in CARES Act funding, and we almost didn't get it. Why? Because the policymakers in the federal government were determining that the cutoff was going to be cities of 500,000 or more. Right then, the census number didn't have us at 500,000. But some of the community surveys showed that we probably had reached that number. But for John Lewis, who was there, and others in the Georgia delegation that we were able to reach out to, and they pushed and pushed, the city of Atlanta was able to receive their direct funding. A lot of cities didn't receive direct funding. Their money went to the state, and then they had to hope in a prayer that the state would give them their allocation. And the state then gave it to the counties, and then you probably saw some of the news stories where some of the cities in Fulton County were fighting with the county because they wanted more money. So we were fortunate to get that money. And the fortune was that those are the people who decide that we need that. And with COVID not ending, they're making decisions on who's getting the vaccination, who are not getting it, how many you're getting, how much money you're going to get in CARES Act funding, whether people get unemployment assistance, whether or not there will be a stay on evictions, a continued stay on evictions, whether or not the landlords will get some help, whether or not small businesses will get help. We're losing a lot of small businesses. If we lose all of the small businesses, how does that impact the city? That's tax and sales tax revenue that we're not receiving. All of this is connected. And we have to understand the air we breathe, the water we drink, just life itself is determined by people that you elect on the city, state, county, and federal levels. And it is so important that you search out, do as much research as you can to make sure that you are voting for people that line up. They may not line up with 100% of what you want or don't want, but line up as much as possible. And even if they're not successful in winning, it is an important message to whoever does win that there is a significant number of people who are thinking differently, which will make that elected official need to reach out and make sure that they build coalitions within people who didn't support them and address some of their needs. So I hope I answered your question. I know I'm rambling.
No,
but
you answered my question perfectly. I just had a couple of topics. I'm inviting the audience for any questions. This is your prime opportunity to just put it in the chat so we can address it, because I don't know when I'm going to get President Felicia Moore back again, but I'm going to work real hard to get her back. Tracy just made a comment. Tracy's a part of the league. She's my league sister. She said, thank you, Felicia. You know Tracy Atkinson, for bringing in important information. We need it. You know that. Information is not information powerful unless people know about it. I want to talk a little bit and shift and pivot a little bit about the young people. Now, you know, and I know, Felicia, stats show that about over 23,000 young people, 17 and a half years of age, not quite 18, were eligible to register to vote. When I saw that information from the league a couple of months ago, I was astounded by it. I'm like, wow, that's a good demographic number, right? But I know we're past that registration part and we're coming into the home stretch. But I'd like you to talk to some of the young folks who are probably out here, maybe not live tonight, but who will rebroadcast and replay this. Sometimes even, I have a millennial daughter, and I can say, thank God, Ashley, shout out to Ashley Bullock. She voted. And she understands, because she has a concerned mother, that voting is important, right? But let's speak to some of the young millenniums, the Generation X and Y. It still kind of hurts my heart as an OG. Can I say that? That they're like, not important, whatever. I don't, that speak to some of the specifics that you and I know to the young generation.
Well, yes, and I believe that in that 75,000 or so of new voters, that we probably received a lot of young people, and so those particularly young people who have exercised their activism, and we saw them on the streets from the George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, Breonna Taylor. We saw them out on the streets and their feet on the streets, protesting, demonstrating, asking for social change. And so they need to take those feet and march into a voting booth, because that's where the change is going to come from. And they can elect people who align with their vision of how we should do criminal justice reform and the other things that matter to them. But I do know that my speaking to them is different than their own peers speaking to them. And so I do think that as we, Linda, myself, and others interact with those who are leading these youth groups, particularly those that are on the street, that are marching and protesting, to get them to speak to their peers and explain to them their power is greater in the voting booth than it is just in the marching. Marching does bring the attention, but to get the action, you got to vote and you got to register to vote. And so we need to make sure that happens. The other thing I believe is we got to grow voters as well. I think we try to reach people at a point that they may not think about it. When I was younger in school, well, first of all, my family was a voting family. My father said you got to have two cards. You got to have a library card and a voter card when you get that age. But everybody doesn't do that. But the other thing that I always remember about voting is that when I was in middle school and high school, they would let us volunteer at the polls. We could take a day off school and volunteer at the polls. So that acclimated me to voting, the day of voting, what goes on in voting. And I think that we need to incorporate that in our schools so that we build civic responsibility in our youth. And so then voting is not some new thing that somebody's trying to introduce to you or make you do that you weren't familiar with.
That's interesting. I'm going to tell a quick story, and I have a couple of comments, and we have a little bit of time left, Felicia, and I appreciate your due diligence. Again, OG, I'll put myself out there. When I was small, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. My mother was very dedicated to the election board, and so I grew up going with my mother as a little girl, right, sitting over there with the coloring book in my hand or whatever, being quiet in a stoop while I watched my mother go through. Back in the day, I'm talking about in the 60s, right, in the 70s, and I watched her work tirelessly. Back in the day, Felicia, they had the 3x5 index cards, and I remember all those little boxes, and these women were meticulously, mostly women, will meticulously make sure, just like the categorizing of the people coming in to vote. I remember going into the voting polls when they had the black drapes. Remember, Felicia? Shutting them. And so I say that to say, I too, coming from Baltimore, Maryland, that's how I grew up. And now I recognize everybody doesn't grow up with that opportunity or that mindset to get out and vote. I know I want to talk a little bit about the importance of collaborating with organizations. There's a lot of organizations you and I both know. Some people say, well, I'm not sure if I want to really volunteer. Is it my civic duty? I don't know. I don't think so. I always encourage people to do that because you and I know, Felicia, once you get involved, you get to really see behind the scenes the importance of it. So can you speak to a little bit about just organizations in general, just kind of collaborating and helping people to get out the vote?
Well, it's going to introduce you to a lot of people. First of all, people that you probably have lifelong relationships and friendships with. But I think the importance of these organizations is you learn so much more than you ever know about the importance of voting, why you're doing what you're doing, and you can do it in a fashion with other people that makes it fun. It's not a job, it's volunteering to be able to be helpful. And so I think, all of these organizations that are out there, and there are plenty, always are looking for help. And I think people do things that they're more familiar with. If you haven't Even if you're an adult and you have never gone voting, then probably you're not doing it because you're just not so sure about it. You hadn't done it before. But if you get involved and you give organizations, and once you do it, it can become a part of your lifestyle. And that's where we've got to get to, where voting is a part of your lifestyle. It's part of something that you normally do. You put air in your tires, you put gas in your car, you go vote. It's just one of those routine things, but one of those routine things that means so much importance. And so volunteering with these organizations, you'll learn a lot, you'll meet some great people, but you'll also feel good about contributing to your community, your society, and this country.
That's great. Felicia, I have another comment. I'm just so excited you're here and in this relaxed environment and open up to the public. I wanted to touch on this just in terms of Proud and Vote. I don't know if you know, because I know you stay busy, but yesterday we had a really great conversation with one of yours truly, Council Member Michael Julian Bond. And I asked him a question relating his family genealogy that you and I both know. I want to kind of ask you the same question. I know this is 2020 and we're moving into 2021. And I know things were quite done differently. And I say back in the day, let's go back to maybe throughout the 60s, because I like to always go back. Being a leaguer myself, 1965. It's a very important year, and we know what that celebrates. That's the Voter Act, correct? So I wanted you to, from your perspective and your chair and your lens, over 20 years plus serving in the community, the correlation, help us and unpack how it was done back in the 60s. Certainly we know it's not done the same way. It's something that's different and missing, and how can we maybe bridge that together?
Oh, that's a big one. So I guess I have to kind of go back. Um, Again, I mentioned it earlier to, how I grew up. And I grew up in the 60s. I was born in the 60s. And so a lot of these things I looked at and viewed at through the lens of a child. And particularly remembering when Martin Luther King was killed, I really wasn't quite clear on what all was going on, but I knew a lot was going on. And I also knew that my parents, and particularly my dad, always emphasized the importance of voting. And I think back in those days that you didn't have to convince Black people in particular to go and vote, because they weren't far removed from not having the power of the vote. So when people try to take something from you and you're fighting for it, you exercise it. I think over time, we have gotten a bit lackadaisical in it. And now I think we're back to the point where people are actually seeing how their vote can affect their life. COVID has made us see things in 2020 a lot clearer. A lot of those things that were right there in front of our face have now risen up. And people understand that the decisions that we make, for instance, in this vote, will have an impact for the next 6 years or greater, depending on how these other midterm elections and stuff take place. I'm really optimistic that people have begun to connect the dots between why they need to vote, who they vote for, and how that impacts their life directly. Most people don't see that direct correlation. I think back in the 60s, people saw the direct correlation. And then that direct correlation sort of got diluted a bit. But I think that we're now coming to a point where that direct correlation is being seen by people, and they're getting it, and they're getting out to vote. I am so proud of Georgia. No matter which way the election goes, we cannot be anything but proud for the turnout, over 50 something percent. That's like unheard of. We usually complaining about 5 and 10% of people voting. This is my heart is as proud of the fact that people are getting it and they're getting out to vote.
I appreciate that. Some of the comments are coming in, Felicia. Denise Winston, you familiar with Denise Winston? She's a WOD that we honored you a few years back. She's saying good conversation, good conversation. Voting is a lifestyle. Maybe we need to start a revolution on that. Then we have thank you for joining us, Tiffany Young Mitchell. You know who Tiffany is. She's saying facts. Let's stick to the facts. I do a lot of 100. Right, because I love these emojis. We're in the 21st century, right, Felicia? So less words. People know me. I talk a lot, but I love the emojis. Tiffany Young Mitchell, she's right on. Let's stick to the facts. We got some other comments in here from Demetrius Johnson. She's saying facts, very true. It's a lifestyle. Maybe we'll get a shirt that says voting is a lifestyle. I don't know, Felicia. We might.
Hey, I might have started something.
Maybe we'll get something going with that. I'll take the charge. Everybody knows how Bella is. But I wanted to say something to you. We still have about 8-10 more minutes to go. I want to pose this to you because I'm excited too. I want to say I concur. I'm extremely excited. No matter how this election turns out, we did good. But I can hear Congressman John Lewis in my ear simply saying, stay in it, the good fight, and do the good trouble, right? So, Felicia, as we got about 10 minutes left, I wanted you to speak on with the audience. Everybody's getting ramped up now. I'm proud. I'm going to probably do a callback. I'm going to invite you, and I want to put you on blast in front of everybody so you can commit right on air. I want you to come back because I want to bring you back and Helen Butler back and Mary Hector, right? You know all the people. I want to bring Councilmember Michael Bond. I want to bring Ambassador Andrew Young back just to see. You said it. You hit it on the nail. No matter how this election turns out, right? No matter how. We should be proud. We have a lot of work to do. We are definitely going to be transparent about that, right, Felicia? There's always something else that we can do just a little bit further. I'm always miffed because, again, I'm from Baltimore. It still blows my mind off the 19 years, Felicia. There's 159 counties, right? I'm going to be transparent. I haven't visited probably a quarter of them. But I heard someone said that Stacey Abrams, when she was going through her campaign, that she visited every single county. And I had to say, Felicia, wow, right? Like, that's a lot.
That's a lot of traveling. Our state is big. I haven't been to all of them, but I've been to many. And people should try to get outside of Atlanta. There are many other counties, and you would just be surprised at the difference from Atlanta and the rest of the state. And there are many of us, African American people, all over this state, and they understand, some of them, that voting, how important it is for them, and then some areas they're not getting it. But I believe that this election, and why we should be proud, is it's not just the Metro Atlanta area, the ones who think they're so great because they live in the city. This is happening all over in the rural areas of our state. And so we have a lot to be proud about. And I just want to put my hats off to all of those organizations who are putting in the time, putting in the work, and putting in the effort to bug us to death to tell us that we need to get out and vote.
That's awesome. And we got about 5 minutes in counting, Felicia. I like to always get out my own way. I like to leave you with the last 5 minutes of what I like to call a call to action from the league. I've got Cornell Rigby, who's my brother. Shout out to my brother out of Baltimore, Maryland, Cornell Rigby. He's saying this is a terrific Tuesday. Great work. It's just ringing synonymous, Felicia. People are hungry for information. I always say information, once again, is not powerful until you understand what it is, get it, and then utilize it, right? So in the last few minutes, I am so humbled that you took the time. You counted not on robbery to come and join us. I don't think people understand, I do, how extremely busy you are. But I'm going to give a shout out, and I'm going to shut up and get out the way. I want you to leave a call to action. Before I say that, though, people, I want you all to know I'm talking from my personal gut, for those who know me. Every single time, and it's been numerous times, Felicia can Shake her head, yes. That I reach out to Felicia. It is never, never a no answer. It's always a hold on, I'll get back to you, or it's a yes. So I'm going to publicly say, and I mean that, you are a queen, Felicia. I'm going to go off script because I have no script. Thank you. And I mean this from my loins, because in your role, you're always available. You always get back to me, whether it's on behalf of the league, whether it's on behalf of just little old Linda, right? A concerned Black sister that's want to reach out to another sister and say, hey, I just want to be a conduit. I just want to be a messenger. I just want to help. Thank you publicly, because you didn't have to do it. I know that. I've worked with a lot of administrations, but I know for a fact, I just want to give you your flowers while I'm looking at you. Thank you for answering my call. Now, getting off my soapbox, I want you to leave at least 5 minutes. We've got and counting. A call to action, however you feel, whatever your spirit's telling you, while we have this robust audience of people just from Baltimore, from California. I mean, I love technology, right? Go figure, and it's COVID-19. Things are moving. I'm going to shut up, but please, whatever's on your heart, speak to the audience and take us on out, Felicia.
Well, Bella, Linda, I just want to say, first of all, thank you. And, you know, the reason why we reach out is I told you earlier, my office is a resource, and I hope people will take advantage of it if they need it. We try to reach out and we try to respond. But you are doing such wonderful work. This show in and of itself is an example of that, where you understand the power of information, and you understand taking your extra time to do this, because you don't have to do this either, to make sure that you use it and your voice and what you do as a vehicle to share with others and inspire action. And so I'm going to leave my last few words in the vein of I guess a good little saying I came up with about voting being a lifestyle. And it is. And how do we create that lifestyle? One thing that I've seen people do, and I encourage everyone to do it, don't go to the polls alone. Take a child with you, whether it's your child, your grandchild, the neighbor's child, anybody's child, because if you're adults and you remember little nuggets of things that happened when you were a child. And if you were taken, I was taken to the poll, didn't get to pull the little lever. We had a little lever, my dad and them pull those little levers, but you get to see it. And when people are familiar with something, it makes them want to do it and not go away from it. Just like, church, you go to church and you get older, get teenager, young adults, you don't go to church. But when you get older, you probably go right back, so because you're familiar with it. It's a comfort in that. And so I would just encourage people to create lifestyles that encourage voting. And that's with children, by taking them and exposing them. If you have a school system, talk to them about allowing some of the older kids maybe to volunteer at the voting booths, etc. I remember when I grew up, I knew who the precinct captain was in our neighborhood because she would knock on our door. We need to get back to the roots of getting people that people are familiar with in your neighborhood or your small group of houses to make sure that you're voting and that you signed up to vote. And she would have us out there, holding up signs and doing things. So if you're engaging the youth now, as adults, they will be easier voters. And again, like the story I told earlier, if you can just remind your friends, your family, when you're having that conversation, it doesn't take but 2 seconds to ask them, have you voted? If they haven't, why not? Hey, can I Google where the location is? It's from this time to this time at this location. Please encourage people to early vote. I really want to stress that. Please encourage people who got the absentee ballot. Just call them up and remind them, have you filled it out? Have you put it in a box? I'm so proud of Georgia. I'm proud of you for continuing this conversation up until election time. And I just say voting is a lifestyle. I like that myself, and it is. And we've got to create it as part of everyone's lifestyle. And if we start with the young, we don't have to work on so many adults later.
Well, you've heard it from the best. This is the Honorable Felicia Moore, President of the Atlanta City Council. I'm proud to be a part of her team. So I'm going to leave the last words with, I always say together we're better. And I am going to have you back. I've got so many people, Felicia. Oh my God, come back, come back, come back. Yes, Felicia, I'm putting you on blast. We will bring you back after January 5th. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to challenge myself. Felicia, I'm going to get out here some kind of way, find an entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur of color, and I'm going to come back with some voting is a lifestyle t-shirts. How about that?
All right. Make sure I get one extra large.
I got you. On behalf of Bela Biz presents on Spotlight, thank you so very much, Felicia Moore. I count it all joy. Thank you, audience. Please like, share. It's power in the numbers. Good night. Have a great evening, everyone.